Well, hi there, guys. Yeah, welcome back to my study here. I have a couple of tobaccos that I wanted to show that are they're all somewhat new tobaccos, but they're ones that would be harder to deal with somewhere else, and so I think this is a good place to get them out and to show you one tobacco that I haven't smoked yet, that I'm going to show you. Yeah, I'm going to load a pipe and smoke it at the end. And so I'm not sure if you can count that as a review or not. Count it for whatever you'd like to count it for. But the first two tobaccos are from Druquer Sons. It's an old tobacco group. I did a little bit of an overview on that tobacco group a couple of years ago. So if you're interested in kind of a little bit of a background on that group, you can look back in my videos. I did a little bit, a little bit of an overview, I think, of that group. Just some information in case you're interested. I don't want to get into that too much this time because I have quite a bit to go over on this one. Yeah, so the first one that I want to do is I think the oldest tobacco out of all these, but they're all fairly new tobaccos. This one's Loch Ness. Yeah, so you can see they're all larger tobaccos, and all these tobaccos are a cake style tobacco. So that's interesting. They're all they're all cake, but they're all a little bit different. The first two tobaccos are somewhat similar, but I'll get into that in a minute. So this first one is done by Gregory Peace, GL Peace, and it's it comes in these two cakes like this in here. There's two in here for 100 grams, and this is called hopefully you can see that. This is called a Scottish crumble cake. They at the bottom there you can see, I don't know if you can read that or not. At the bottom it says Scottish crumble cake. So it's a Scottish style tobacco, and it's rich and smoky when you smell it. It smells like a Latakia Oriental Scottish mixture, and it's definitely not completely hard like like a plug would be. So it's more on the cake side, but it is just a little bit moist. Too. All of these are, as cakes are, they come just a little bit moist because of the way they press them together. It tends to keep a little bit more moisture, but I think that's a good thing, especially, and this is true for all of these blends. It's really good for aging, and that's what I'm going to do. I usually when I get some tobaccos, I get a bunch, and then I just I store them in some kind of really good sealed container, and unless I'm going to smoke it all the way through, and that's different. But often I get tobaccos, and especially if I really know them, and I just want to put them away. because I find that most tobaccos, especially cakes, if you age them, it really brings out yeah, the architecture of what a cake or a plug or something like that is. I think even cakes do better than plugs with aging. For some reason, I'm not sure what it is, but I found that a cake really ages well, and in a couple of years, it's just when you open it up, the flavors are just so much more full. Not that it's bad now to smoke it as it is, but it's aging really does something for cake. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're buying these cake tobaccos, that it's a good idea to put them aside, let them age a little bit if you can. Yeah, if you can wait, or yeah, if you really know you like a tobacco and you can get a couple of tins and open one to smoke, and then put some more away, and then you can see in a few years what the difference is. And I think with cakes you can really see that the difference. Because they just age, they just really age well. So I have some notes because there's just so much to cover. I just didn't want to forget, and I wanted to read to you the description of Loch Ness. It says, artfully developed by Gregory Peace, Loch Ness is a Scottish-style crumble plug mixture comprising ribbons of small-leaf Oriental, smoky Cypriot Latakia, and rare Louisiana Perique, elevated by bright lemon and matured red Virginia tobaccos. Once blended, the loose mixture is pressed and aged in cakes to meld flavors, then cut into plugs, combining the flavor-enhancing benefits of the pressing process with an easy, straightforward preparation for the pipe. So yeah, so they kind of mix the words cake and plug in here, and yeah, I mean, semantics, can be difficult, but I really think there's a little bit of a difference between plugs and cakes, and plugs are usually a lot more dense than cakes are, and the aging process is a little bit different, and in time and in the way they do it. But so I would call these more cakes. All of these tobaccos today. But so they're saying that they're already aged, but I still think when you get a tobacco, yeah, like this, for me it's still considered fresh, and I still think it needs a few years for the blending of the flavors to really take shape. Anyways, so it can be, in their descriptions and stuff, it can be a little bit confusing about what's a cake and what's a plug, and there's arguments and disagreements over these kind of things all over the place. So we don't want to get too tied up in semantics. I think the most important thing is it's tobacco, and we smoke it, we enjoy it, and what is it like? So I don't like to get too concerned about what we're going to call these and what they actually are, and definitions, and we can do that about anything. Is it a tree? Is it a bush? Okay. So so the important thing is we're going to put it in a pipe and we're going to smoke it. And so on the container itself, it has a quote from Gregory Peace, and I'll just read that. I think it's interesting. It says, "I blended Loch Ness in the Scottish tradition with a wee twist. in the bowl, rich, full flavors offer hints of dark fruit with spicy overtones, destined to be drenched in folklore like its namesake. Loch Ness will soothe even the most ferocious beasts. And it says, in the tin, Loch Ness aromas are markedly decadent, punctuated by notes deep and opulent, with the alluring hint of smoky zest. On the palate, the blend is rich and complex in flavor, and I think that's really true with this Loch Ness blend. Is there is a good complexity to it that that I think is different than other Scottish blends that I've had that have real competing times in the smoke with different notes, and this one seems to harmonize a little bit better, but keeping that complexity, which I like. And this is balancing a tangy sweetness with piquant spice, hints of dark stewed fruits, and a creamy rounded finish. I think this one does have a little bit more creamy finish than the other ones, so I think that's true. Says medium in strength, with fathoms of body and leagues of complexity. They're trying to play off the Loch Ness, the monster in the Loch Ness. Loch Ness is the perfect all-day smoke for the lover of traditional Scottish and English pipe tobaccos. So one thing I noted about this is that compared to other, and for me this is a good thing, so yeah, take it that way, I guess. This tobacco, compared to some other Scottish type style mixtures that I've had, yeah, this one's a little bit less spicy for me. The Perique is a little bit more calm in this one, and I think as it ages that'll become even more so. I think, but yeah, time will tell on that for sure. But I think part of the reason is some of the other tobaccos that were Scottish style that I smoked were not cake style tobacco. So I think putting them into a cake tended to make the components react differently with each other. And like I said earlier, this one seems to be a little bit less less spicy and less bothersome. Yeah, just more rounded, and I think because it's a cake, it tended to smooth those things out. And this one, compared to other Scottish mixtures that I've had, is a lot less unruly for me. And for others, maybe that's a good thing, that there's really competing flavors, and maybe that's why they like the Scottish mixtures. Is there's so much variation with the leaves, with depending on what kind of Virginias they use, and you know, and depending on what kind of leaves they use at all in the mixture. But this one, for a Scottish style, tended to be less spicy and less unruly for me, so I enjoyed that. But it still had the complexity of Orientals and Perique and the bright and red Virginias in there, so it had that sweetness still. But they weren't competing with each other so much to try to. Sometimes it felt like in other Scottish style that they're trying to compete against each other during the smoke, and that could be a bit disturbing or a bit distracting or something during the smoke for me. And this one seemed, yeah, a little bit more mellow in that way. So that's Loch Ness. It's quality tobacco. It's a good tobacco. It smokes well. It has a little bit of humidity like a cake does, so you have to treat it, you know, like a cake. So for beginners, it takes a little bit more time to prepare and to do that. And you don't want to, when you're preparing these, you don't want to crumble them out too much. You don't want to end up with sawdust. Again, it doesn't smoke as well when it's rubbed out so much that you just have dust to start with. Okay, so the next tobacco is Casbah. It's by the same tobacco maker. Yeah, I have to make sure I'm pointing it the right direction. All right. Yeah, so for me, this tobacco, when I read the descriptions and I was smelling them and comparing them with the Loch Ness, they seemed really similar. And when I read the description, you'll see why. But they actually do smoke a little bit different, so that's interesting. But they're in the same vein, even though one's a Balkan and one's a Scottish. There's similarities between the two. So, and by the way, when you open these, this style tin, you pop the top on. You really have to be careful with these because they do have a sharp edge. So when you're reaching in here to grab these papers out, yeah, really be careful with the edges of the tin because they're really sharp. And they can really grab a hold of you. So here's this brownie. They always remind me of chunks of brownies. Yeah, so I'll show you that one. It's, it looks similar to the other. Maybe not quite as dark. But yeah, they smell delicious, of course. Yeah, wish you could smell that. Okay, it doesn't work. Yeah, rich, dark, a little bit of fruity, sweetness, smoky. Yeah, just what you would expect and what you'd want out of a Balkan mixture. This is a quality Balkan cake tobacco. Really done well. The one thing I really like about Druquer Sons is they use and GLPs and often with Cornell and Deal too, is they really use quality leaf, quality tobacco. So it's pretty rare that I smoke something from some of these companies and just disappointed by the quality of the leaf that they use. It really seems like they try hard to really go out and pick the best quality and most interesting tobaccos to use in their blends. So I really do appreciate that. So let me read what it says for Casbah. It says Casbah is an expertly blended Balkan-style crumble plug mixture comprising red and bright Virginias, a generous portion of small leaf Orientals, see, so same, and the red and bright Virginias. So the other one had bright lemon and red Virginias. So far same. I'm not sure if they're the exact leaves are not, but they're, you know, they're in the same ballpark. And a generous helping of deep, smoky Cypriot Latakia. So, Cypriot Latakia. And again, I'm not sure if it's the same Latakia, but you know, so far we're talking the same type of leaves. Once blended, the loose mixture is pressed and aged in cakes, then cut into blocks, combining the flavor-enhancing benefits of flake or plug-cut blends with an easy, straightforward preparation for the pipe. In the tin, Casbah's aromas are opulent and exotic, punctuated by sweet and sour notes with a deep allure of smoky zest. And I think they really got it there with the description for this tobacco. Is it really has a sweet and sour sense to it. That's just that was just very interesting to me. I've smoked a few other tobaccos that have this similar sweet and sourness to it, but that I really enjoy. But it really stood out to me in this tobacco with that real smokiness. And I know a lot of people like Balkan blends, and I like them too. They're not what I smoke most of the time, but I do like them, and often it's because they have a little bit of that sweet and sour note to it. On the palate, the blend is full-bodied yet approachable in flavor and strength, balancing a tangy sweetness with whispers of subtle wood smoke and a creamy rounded finish. Yeah, they said that again. For me, this Balkan blend doesn't have the finish that the other does to the same extent. For me, it's not as creamy as the Scottish blend. So the difference here, of course, is there's no Perique. So it's less spicy in that sense, but it's still spicy because of the Latakia has a little bit of spice to it, and the Orientals, of course. So it still has a spice, but it goes more the direction of that sweet and sour sense, I think, to it. And my notes kind of said that it's dark and rich and very smoky. Yeah, and I punctuated the sweet and sourness and the tangy notes that it has throughout. Yeah, and not as creamy as the other. But so as you can see, they're kind of similar tobaccos in a way, even though one's a Balkan and one's a Scottish. They're very similar, but they have these little nuances that set them apart from each other, and the Perique really does that, I think, for Loch Ness. Changes the profile just a little bit. I think the balances of the tobaccos are a little different too. I don't think like Casbah is thrown into you know, a Scottish crumble cake with adding the Perique. I don't think it's the same tobacco. I think there are definitely differences, but they kind of start off going down the same direction, which I think is interesting. And so I think depending on what you really go for more, a Scottish style or a Balkan will be probably the direction that most people will follow. Most people kind of follow their nose and kind of stick to some of the notes and flavors that they're used to and that they really enjoy. So with these, you can kind of start in the same spot and then decide what direction you really like to go with these two tobaccos. So that's those two tobaccos that are fairly new, I think, just within the less than a year, I think, but I can't remember when they came out. There's so many tobaccos that have been coming out lately that I could hardly keep up with all of them. And of course I have not tried all of them yet. But I still have a few lined up that are that I'm waiting to try, and we'll be getting to here soon. But there's just so much, and you know, it's hard to just chase every tobacco that comes out. But if something looks interesting, then it's fun to try. Fun to try them. And so the last tobacco is a little bit different, and I haven't smoked it yet, but I wanted to show you kind of from the beginning what it's like, just because it's so different. And it's a Cornell and Deal, a small batch, and it's this Folklore, and it's a very interesting tobacco because it comes in this this kind of box thing. It's a lot of tobacco. It's yeah, it's weighed in American measurements, a 16-ounce tobacco. So, but you know, the box is really nice that comes in this. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, it's interesting. So let me open this and I'll show you what it's like, and then I'm going to load my pipe because I don't have my pipe loaded yet. So yeah, you open the side, and then you have this large block tobacco, so you have enough tobacco for at least a couple of days there. Yeah, it's quite a bit of tobacco, but so you hope it's going to be good. But I'm going to try it, and then I think I'm going to put this away and let it age for a little bit, and see what happens, see what it's like. But I'm going to open this now and load a bowl here. So yeah, so bear with me as I load my pipe up real quick. Hopefully quick. I don't want to take too much of your time doing this. So right on the top here, they give you kind of like a little sample piece, so it's just enough. So yeah, so I'm going to put it down on my mixing plate here, and yeah, try to rub this out a bit and see what this is like. Wow, so the first smell that I smell is it's almost like a sweet candy. I mean, that's not the entire smell, but there is a sense of some kind of sweet candy in it. It's not an aromatic. I think it must be the Virginia's. Yeah, so that's about all I like to rub it out to, something like that. Yeah, I don't want to get it too sawdusty. And of course this is more than I need, so I may have to have a second bowl. Alright, let's see how this goes. So I like to kind of work it in, kind of twist it in like this, work it back and forth, and kind of just twist it in. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, let me light it up here. My lighter is not lighting very well. Either is that one. I have something stuck down in there. Let me clear it real quick. Yeah, something stuck down in the... Yeah, a real sweetness. Yeah, probably needed to be dried out just a little bit. I probably should have just opened it first and then let it dry out, but yeah. Well, let me read to you what they say. All right. So, it says, paying homage to the traditions and customs of cultures across the globe, including those held dearest at Cornell and Deal, Small Batch Folklore celebrates 5 distinct flue-cured varietals. A deep mahogany red from 2017, a lighter orange-red leaf from 2019, a lemony 2019 Canadian Bright, and a special selection of 2022 North Carolina tips. A beautiful, rich 13.53% sugar content leaf with exceptional body and character. Wow, so that's quite a recipe there. 5 different varietals of Virginias, it sounds like. Yeah, and that's why it has that kind of I don't know, almost some kind of candy. I can't put my finger on it, but some kind of fruity candy. Yeah. Yeah, something's sticking. I don't know what it is. Well, anyways, let me continue reading here, and then I'll get this thing figured out. It says, these top-tier naturally sweet Virginias are elevated by delicate accompaniments of pure, genuine St. James Parish Perique from Cornell and Deal's exclusive Perique Farm. 31 farms. It says lightly smoked cured Kentucky from 2019 and exotic Indonesian Kasturi leaf from 2015. Pressed and sliced into a 16-ounce crumble cake. The result is an alluring, fascinating blend, unique in its presentation and rich in flavor, offering notes of sweet fruits, citrus, warming spices, and woodsy undertones. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description. From what I was getting, yeah, when I first crumbled it and gave a whiff, it really had that kind of sweet candy to it, but there's also some deeper notes to it when you smell it that are kind of woodsy and tangy, but it's quite different than the other two tobaccos. It's not smoky and real dark and rich. This is yeah, this is definitely a Virginia a Virginia top tobacco. It does say that there's Indonesian leaf and Perique and Kentucky, but yeah, so far those seem to take the back seat on this one, but I think I have something stuck in my stem. That's what's going on. Let's see if that works. Well, anyways, yeah, I don't want you guys to, yeah, be waiting around for me to get that lit. I can do that off camera. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to show you guys these tobaccos, and this is an interesting one here. This Folklore. Yeah, and I'll get my pipe lit and get it figured out. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with it, but it's not the tobacco. I think there's something stuck down in my pipe, which happens for sure, but that's all right. I'll take it apart and get it fixed. But anyways, yeah, the important thing is I just wanted to show you guys these tobaccos in case you were interested in any of these tobaccos and you wanted to pick some up, but you just didn't know enough about it to make the decision, couldn't really see it, get your hands on it. Hopefully that helps and gives you a little bit more information about these tobaccos. and they're certainly interesting tobaccos, and different tobaccos. Two of them, like I said, similar in some ways, but this Folklore seems to be quite different than the other two, going a different direction. Very very sweet, and very fruity, and very Virginia forward. But like I said, I haven't smoked it yet, so I don't usually do reviews on tobaccos that I haven't had a lot of experience with. So, and at least taken some notes, paid attention a little bit to them. But anyways, that's all, guys. I don't want to keep you too long, and my mouth is watering to get that pipe lit. So yeah, I'm going to do that. So yeah, you guys take care. Thanks for joining me again, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.